I found out something was wrong on a Thursday night. And it wasn't anger I felt first. It was a gap. A small, clean gap in the middle of our normal life. Like a missing step you don't notice until your foot hits air. It happened in our kitchen. The one with the slightly crooked cabinet door I keep saying I'll fix this weekend. We've lived in this house outside the city for 12 years. We raised our son here. We argued here. We made up here. We learned each other's moods by the sound of a drawer closing. So when my wife laughed at her phone like a teenager hiding a secret, it didn't match the room. Her name is Melissa. She's 45. I'm 47. We've been together long enough that I can tell when a laugh is for me and when it's for someone else. Funny video? I asked, keeping my voice casual. Melissa looked up too fast. Like she forgot I was there. Just a memory, she said. Then she slid her phone face down on the counter. That little move face down felt bigger than it should have. I told myself I was being ridiculous. People put their phones down all the time. But later that night, when we were brushing our teeth side by side, she checked her phone again. Not quickly. Carefully. Like she didn't want me to see the name. Melissa has always been responsible. Organized. Practical. The kind of woman who keeps extra napkins in the car and remembers everyone's birthdays. She's not dramatic. She doesn't chase chaos. Or at least, she didn't used to. Our son, Derek, is 22. He's not a kid. He's a man who can read a room without being told. Smart, blunt, loyal in that steady way that makes you proud and a little scared. Because you know, if he ever has to choose a side, he will. That night, Derek stopped by for dinner. He works in the city, but he comes home a couple times a week because he says our fridge is still better. Melissa lit up when he walked in. She always does. Whatever is happening between us, she's always loved Derek like breathing. We ate in the kitchen like we always do. Me trying to talk about work. Derek talking about a new guy at his job who thought he could skip steps. Melissa nodding and smiling at the right places. But her eyes kept flicking to her phone. At one point, Derek stopped mid-sentence and looked at her. "Mom," he said, "who are you texting like that?" Melissa's smile tightened. "It's nothing." Derek raised an eyebrow. "That usually means it's something." Melissa gave a light, forced laugh. "It's a group chat." "What group chat?" Derek asked. Melissa took a sip of water like it could buy her time. "High school," she said. "People planning a reunion." There it was. High school. It shouldn't have meant anything. 45-year-old people don't blow up their lives over high school. But when she said it, she didn't sound annoyed the way she usually did when old acquaintances popped back up. She sounded awake. Derek shrugged and went back to his story. But later, when he went to the fridge, he leaned in and whispered to me, "You okay?" I didn't want to drag him into it. Not yet. Not when I didn't even know what it was. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." He looked at me like he didn't buy it. Then he nodded. "Okay." After Derek left, Melissa washed dishes with the kind of energy that felt performative. Like if she moved fast enough, she wouldn't have to sit still with her own thoughts. I dried. I watched. I waited for the moment she'd look at me and say something real. She didn't. Instead, she said, "I might go out Saturday morning." "Where?" I asked. She shrugged like it didn't matter. "Coffee with some people." "From high school?" I asked, keeping my tone light. Melissa paused for half a beat. Then she smiled without warmth. "Yeah." "It's not a crime, Tom." "Tom, that's my name." She said it the way you say someone's name when you're reminding them not to ask. I held the dish towel in my hands and stared at the sink. "No," I said. "It's not." But when she went upstairs, I stood alone in the kitchen and listened to the quiet. It didn't sound peaceful. It sounded like something holding its breath. Saturday came with that bright, clean kind of morning that makes you think life is simpler than it is. Melissa wore jeans and a sweater she hadn't worn in a while. She actually did her hair. Not for errands. Not for grocery shopping. For a coffee. Be back around noon, she said, grabbing her keys. Okay, I replied. She kissed my cheek quick and walked out. I stood by the window and watched her car roll down our driveway like I was watching a stranger leave. At 10:30, I texted her. Everything good? No response. At 11, Derek called me. Dad, he said, you gonna be home later? I might swing by. Yeah, I said. Why? He hesitated. Mom okay? That question hit me in the chest. She wet out, I said. Coffee. Derek exhaled through his nose. She's been doing that a lot lately. You noticed? I asked. Yeah, he said. I'm not blind. I stared out at the yard. The trees were still. The world was pretending to be calm. She's probably just, I started. Derek cut me off. Dad, don't do that thing. What thing? I asked. The thing where you explain her behavior for her, he said. You always do it. I didn't have an answer that didn't sound weak. When Melissa finally came home, it was almost 1:30. She walked in smiling like a woman returning from a spa, not coffee. Sorry, she said lightly. We talked longer than I thought. Who's we? I asked. She paused, then waved a hand. Just people. Old friends. I nodded, pretending I accepted that. But I noticed her perfume was stronger than usual, and there was a faint smell under it. Something sharp and masculine. Like aftershave. I told myself it could have been a hug. A hello. A handshake. I told myself a lot of things those weeks. Because the truth is, when you love someone, you don't want to be the first person to accuse them of destroying your life. You want to be wrong. Melissa started running errands in the evenings. She'd say, I'm just going to the store, and come back an hour later with a single bag of groceries we didn't need. She started taking walks after dinner. I need to clear my head, she'd say. From what? I wanted to ask, but I didn't. Because every time I got close to the question, I saw the way she'd brace herself. Like she was ready to turn it into a fight. Like she was waiting for me to become the villain. And I didn't want to give her that. One night, Derek came over and found me sitting on the back porch alone. He sat beside me without asking. Mom's out? He asked. Walk, I said. Derek leaned back and looked up at the sky. She's not just walking, he said. I stared at him. You don't know that. Derek's jaw tightened. Dad, I'm 22. I didn't respond. He looked over at me, eyes sharp. I saw her car last week, he said, over by Westfield. Westfield is a little shopping area across town. Coffee shops. Restaurants. The kind of place couples go when they don't want to be seen at the diner in their own neighborhood. What was she doing? I asked. I don't know, Derek admitted, but she wasn't shopping. She was sitting in her car, parked in the far lot. My throat went dry. You didn't tell me, I said. Derek looked down. I didn't want to be wrong. That sentence felt like a mirror. Me neither, kid. Me neither. A week later, Melissa brought up the reunion again. They want to do it in June, she said at breakfast, stirring her coffee like she was stirring an excuse into it. That's nice, I said. She looked at me, studying. You're being weird. I'm fine, I said. Melissa narrowed her eyes. No, you're not. I almost laughed. Because the truth was, I was balancing on something thin. My patience. My trust. My ability to pretend I wasn't noticing. I'm just tired, I said again. Melissa stared at me for a second, then softened her tone. That softness was dangerous. It was the tone she used when she wanted me to stop asking questions. "You know I love you, right?" she asked. The way she said it didn't feel like love. It felt like a warning wrapped in a gift. "Yeah," I said. She reached across the table and touched my hand. And for a second I wanted to grab onto it. I wanted to let that small contact erase the doubts. But then her phone buzzed, and she pulled her hand away like it burned. She glanced at the screen, smiled, and typed back fast. I stared at her phone like it was a door I'd never seen before. "Who is it?" I asked, quieter than I meant to. Melissa's shoulders tightened. "It's nothing," she said. "That's the second time you said that," I replied. Her eyes flashed. "Tom, why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" I asked. "Acting like I'm guilty," she snapped. I took a slow breath. "I'm not acting," I said. "I'm noticing." Melissa stood, grabbed her mug, and walked to the sink like she needed distance. "This is why I can't talk to you," she muttered. That sentence hit me hard, because what it really meant was, I'm choosing not to talk to you. "Talk to me about what?" I asked. Melissa froze. Then she turned back with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "About anything," she said. "You make everything into a problem." And there it was, the first real twist of the knife. Not the cheating. Not yet. The idea that I was the reason she couldn't be honest. That night, I lay in bed while she showered. Her phone was on the nightstand. Face up. Unlocked notifications. I could have looked. It would have taken one glance, one tiny betrayal, to answer the bigger one. But I didn't. Because 11 years ago, when we got married, we promised we'd never become the kind of couple who needed to check each other's phones. And I was still living in that promise, even if she wasn't. The next day, Derek came over again. He stood in the kitchen while I poured coffee, and he said, "Dad, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." "Okay," I said. "Do you think Mom's cheating?" he asked. My heart dropped into my stomach. It's one thing to suspect it in your own mind. It's another to hear it out loud from your son. "I don't know," I said. Derek nodded like he expected that. "Okay," he said. "Then I'm going to tell you what I know." He took his phone out and showed me a photo. It was blurry, from a distance. Melissa's car in a parking lot. And beside it, a man's car. The man was standing by her driver's side window, leaning in. I couldn't see his face clearly, but the posture, the closeness, it made my skin crawl. "Where was this?" I asked. "Westfield," Derek said. 2 days ago." My voice came out hoarse. "Why didn't you tell me then?" Derek swallowed. "Because I wanted you to decide what you wanted to see." I stared at the photo. "I don't even know who that is," I said. Derek's jaw clenched. "I do." I looked up fast. "You do?" Derek nodded once. "His name is Jason Palmer," he said. The name landed heavy. "Who?" I asked, though I already knew what he was going to say. "Mom's high school, whatever," Derek replied. "She mentioned him once when I was a kid, like a story she laughed at, like it didn't matter." My mouth went dry. Jason Palmer. A ghost with a name. "Are you sure?" I asked. Derek's eyes narrowed. "Dad, he lives in town. I saw him at the gym once." Same guy. I stared down at my coffee. It suddenly tasted like nothing. 2 nights later, Melissa fell asleep on the couch. We were watching some show neither of us cared about. Blanket over her legs. Head tilted back. Breathing deep and even. Her phone was on the cushion beside her. Screen dark. I sat there for a long time, staring at it. I hated that I was even considering it, because I wasn't raised to snoop. I wasn't raised to assume the worst. I was raised to work harder, talk it out, fix the thing that's broken. But you can't fix something if the other person won't admit it's cracked. I looked at Melissa's face. She looked peaceful, and that made me furious in a quiet way, because I hadn't slept right in weeks. My hand moved before my courage did. I picked up her phone. It was heavier than I expected, like it carried more than a device should. I hesitated, thumb hovering. Then the screen lit up. No passcode. She'd turned it off months ago because she said it was annoying. I opened her messages. I didn't even know what I was looking for. Then I saw the name. Jason. My stomach turned. I opened the thread, and the word changed in a series of short, clean lines. I miss you. I can't stop thinking about high school. I didn't know I could feel like this again. I wish I had chosen you then. Tomorrow, same place. I love the way you look at me. There were inside jokes, memories, photos that weren't explicit, but were intimate in a way that made my hands go cold. A selfie of her smiling in a car, hair done, lipstick fresh. A photo of his hand on her knee. And one message that burned into my brain. He has no idea. He. Me. I stared at it until my vision blurred. I set the phone down like it might bite. My heart was pounding now, but it wasn't wild panic. It was a steady, brutal clarity. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and gripped the counter. My body wanted something dramatic. To wake her up, throw the phone at her, scream until my throat broke. But a different part of me. Older, calmer, exhausted. Told me something important. If I explode, she'll use it. She'll turn this into a story where I'm unstable. Where she had to leave. Where her betrayal becomes a reaction to my anger. I wasn't going to give her that. I walked back to the couch. Melissa stirred. Opened her eyes. "Hey," she mumbled. I fell asleep. I looked at her and felt something in me detach. "Yeah," I said. "You did." She smiled sleepily. "Come to bed." I nodded. And I did. I lay beside her in the dark while she fell asleep again. And I stared at the ceiling, feeling like I was watching my life from outside. The next morning, I made breakfast like normal. Eggs, toast, coffee. Melissa walked in wearing one of my old hoodies. She kissed my cheek. "Morning," she said. I nodded. "Morning." My voice sounded normal, which almost scared me more than if it had cracked. We ate in silence. Then I said, "We need to talk." Melissa froze. "About what?" I looked at her. I didn't want to say his name. Saying it felt like making it real. But it was real whether I said it or not. "I saw your messages," I said. Melissa's face went blank. Not confusion. Not surprise. Blank. Like a screen going dark. "You went through my phone?" she asked, voice sharp. That was the first thing she said. Not "I'm sorry." Not "what did you see?" Just outrage that I'd looked. I nodded slowly. "Yes." Her eyes flashed. "How long have you been spying on me?" Spying. That word again. The same weapon. "I wasn't spying," I said. "I was trying to understand why my wife disappears and comes home smelling like another man." Her mouth tightened. "That's not fair." I stared at her. "Is it true?" Silence. Then she exhaled and looked down at her plate. "Yes," she said. One word. Yes. My hands clenched under the table. "How long?" I asked. Melissa swallowed. "A few months." "A few months." Long enough to build a whole secret life inside our life. "Why?" I asked, and my voice crept on that one. Melissa looked up, eyes glossy. And for a second, just a second, I saw the woman I used to know. Then she hardened again, like she realized softness wouldn't help her get what she wanted. Because I feel stuck, she said. I blinked. Stuck. Yes, she said, voice rising. Like my whole life is a routine, like I'm not alive. I stared at her. I've built this life with you, I said. We raised Derek. We. I know, she snapped, and I'm grateful. But gratitude isn't the same as happiness. That sentence hit me like a slap. What about love? I asked. Melissa hesitated. Then she said something that cut deeper than cheating. I love you, she said softly. But I'm not in love with you. There it was. The line people use when they want to justify destruction. I swallowed hard. So you're in love with him? Melissa's eyes flickered. I don't know, she admitted. But when I'm with him, I feel like I'm 19 again. Like everything is possible. I stared at her and thought, you're 45. We're not 19. We have a son who can vote and pay taxes. We have a house, a history, a life. But she was chasing a feeling like it was oxygen. You're leaving, I said. It wasn't a question. Melissa's jaw tightened. I think I need to. I felt something cold wash through me. Need to, I repeated. Melissa stood up and started pacing like she wanted to turn this into a scene. I didn't plan it, she said quickly. It just happened. He reached out about the reunion, and we started talking, and I didn't expect. Stop, I said quietly. She froze. I looked up at her. If you're going to do this, I said, don't insult me with, I didn't plan it. You planned every time you left this house and lied to my face. Melissa's eyes widened, then narrowed. She took a breath, and her tone changed. Colder. Tom, she said, I can't live the rest of my life pretending. Pretending. Like I was the one pretending. What do you want me to do? I asked, voice low. Beg? Melissa's eyes flickered, and I hated that part of me wanted her to say yes. Instead, she said, I want you to understand. I laughed once, bitter. Understand what? That you got bored and decided to gamble our family on a high school memory? Melissa flinched like I'd hit her. Don't talk to me like that, she snapped. I stared at her, and I realized something in that moment. She wasn't just leaving. She was rewriting the story so she could leave without feeling like the villain. And if I didn't play my part quiet, reasonable, forgiving, she'd paint me darker. I stood up slowly. Derek deserves to hear it from you, I said. Melissa's face tightened. I don't want to involve him. He's already involved, I replied. He's our son, not furniture. Melissa looked away, and that's when I knew she was already gone. Not physically, emotionally. Gone. Derek came over that night because I asked him to. He walked into the kitchen and immediately sensed the air. He looked at me, then at Melissa. What's going on? He asked. Melissa sat at the table, hands folded like she was waiting for a meeting. I stood by the counter, arms crossed, feeling like I might fall apart if I sat down. Melissa cleared her throat. Derek, she began, your dad and I, we've been having some issues. Derek stared at her. Okay. Melissa swallowed. I've developed feelings for someone. Derek didn't blink. He looked at her like she was speaking a language she didn't recognize. Someone from high school, she added, like that made it softer. Derek's jaw clenched. Jason, he said flatly. Melissa's eyes widened. How do you? Derek cut her off. So it's true. Melissa's face tightened. Derek, please. Don't please me, Derek snapped, voice rising. You're doing this. You're choosing this. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. But Derek didn't soften. Because he'd seen enough. He looked at me for half a second, and I saw it in his eyes. He was furious, but he wasn't surprised. "You're leaving?" Derek asked, turning back to her. Melissa hesitated. Then she nodded. "I think it's best." Derek laughed, sharp and humorless. "Best for who?" he demanded. "For you?" Melissa flinched. "Derek, I'm your mother." Derek's voice went low. "Then act like it." Silence dropped heavy. Melissa wiped at her cheek. "I'm not abandoning you." Derek stared at her. "You're abandoning Dad." Melissa's eyes flashed. "Your father will be fine." That line did it. Because it wasn't just cold. It was dismissive. Like the man who'd built her life was a sturdy chair she could leave behind. Derek stepped closer, shaking his head. "You don't get to decide that," he said. "You don't get to wreck him and call it fine." Melissa stood up abruptly. "This is not fair." Derek's laugh came out like pain. "Fair?" he repeated. "You cheated. You lied. And now you're mad we're reacting?" Melissa looked to me like she wanted backup. Like she wanted me to calm Derek down. Old habits. But I didn't move. I didn't rescue her from the consequences. Derek shook his head and stepped back. "Do what you want," he said, voice tight. "But don't expect me to smile at it." Melissa's voice cracked. "Derek." "No," he snapped. "Don't. If you walk out that door for him, you're not just leaving Dad. You're leaving us." Melissa's face went pale. And for a second I thought she might stop. I thought maybe hearing it from her son would pull her back into reality. But then she squared her shoulders. She whispered, "I'm sorry." And she walked out of the kitchen. Derek stood there breathing hard. Then he looked at me. "I'm staying with you," he said, like it was a vow. I nodded, and my throat closed so hard I couldn't speak. Melissa moved out 2 days later. Not dramatically. No screaming. No slammed doors. Just a suitcase. A quiet morning where she carried bags to her car while the sun rose like it didn't care. Derek stood in the doorway, arms crossed. I stood behind him. Melissa looked at Derek like she wanted him to say something. He didn't. She looked at me. Her eyes were tired now. Less confident. "Tom," she said softly, "I don't want this to be ugly." I stared at her. "It didn't have to be," I said. She flinched. "I'll call," she said, voice small. "We can talk. Once things settle." I nodded without committing. Then she hesitated by the driveway. Like she expected me to run after her. Like she expected some movie moment where I say, "Please don't go." A part of me wanted to. Not because I thought she deserved it. Because it was what my body had been trained to do for years. Fix. Hold. Repair. But another part of me, the part that had read her messages, the part that had watched Derek's face, stood still. Melissa got in her car, started it, and drove away. Derek didn't move until the car disappeared down the road. Then he exhaled hard. "I hate her right now," he said. I swallowed. "She's still your mom?" Derek looked at me, eyes sharp and wet. "She made her choice," he said. So did I. I didn't argue, because in that moment I didn't have the strength to defend her. All I had was the quiet, crushing reality of an empty house. That first night without her, I walked through rooms like a man touring a museum of his own life. Her mug still in the cabinet. Her shampoo still in the shower. Her pillow still on the bed, untouched. And the worst part? The silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud. If you've never been left like that, you don't understand the kind of math your mind starts doing. Not logical math. Emotional math. What did I miss? Where did I fail? Was I boring? Was I too predictable? Was I too steady? Did I stop trying? Did she stop trying first? Some nights I'd wake up and reach for her out of habit, then remember she wasn't there, and the grief would hit fresh like I hadn't already lived it all day. Derek started coming home more. He moved some of his stuff into his old room. It was strange having my grown son living with me again, but it also saved me. Because when you're alone after betrayal, your mind gets dangerous. It starts telling you stories. Derek kept me anchored to reality. One evening, about a month after Melissa left, Derek found me sitting on the porch steps, staring at nothing. He sat beside me. "You okay?" he asked. I laughed softly. "Define okay." Derek nodded. "Fair." We sat in silence for a minute. Then Derek said something I didn't expect. "I keep thinking about how easy it was for her," he said. I turned toward him. Derek stared out at the yard. Like she just picked up a different life. I swallowed. It wasn't easy for her. Derek looked at me. Then why didn't she stay? I didn't have an answer that wouldn't break both of us. So I said the simplest truth. Because she wanted something else more. Derek's jaw tightened. She wanted a feeling, he said. Not a family. That line landed. Because it was exactly it. The next week I met with a lawyer. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I needed a boundary. A clean ending on paper to match the messy ending in my chest. Filing for divorce felt surreal. Like signing your name on the death certificate of the life you thought you'd have. When I told Derek, he didn't hesitate. "Good," he said. "Do it." I nodded. Because I wasn't doing it out of hatred. I was doing it because I couldn't keep living in a state of maybe. Maybe she comes back. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she loves me. Maybe she's just bored. Maybe we can fix it. Maybe I'm the problem. No. Paper makes things real. And I needed real. I didn't stalk her. I didn't check her social media. I didn't want to become that man. But we live in a world where news travels even when you don't ask for it. Mutual friends. Neighbors. People who just wanted to make sure you're okay. I heard things. Melissa was living in an apartment across town. Jason Palmer, her high school love, had been divorced for a couple years. He was charming, apparently. Fun. Spontaneous. The kind of man who still wears the same smile he had at 17 because it worked then, and he never had to develop anything deeper. For a while, Melissa looked happy. That's what people said. "She seems lighter," someone told me. "She looks like herself again," another said. Those comments hit me in strange ways. Because what does it mean when people say your wife looks like herself again after she leaves you? Derek didn't care what people said. He avoided her. He didn't answer her calls. He didn't respond to her texts. One night I found his phone on the counter with a message from her glowing on the screen. "Please, I miss you. I'm still your mom." Derek walked in, saw me glance at it, and snatched the phone away. "I'm not ready," he said. "You don't have to be," I replied. Derek's eyes went hard. "She chose him over us," he said. "I'm choosing you." Months passed. The divorce moved forward. We split what we had. We split the life. We made decisions that felt like cutting furniture in half. And I started to stabilize. Not because I stopped hurting, but because my body finally believed the truth. She's gone. Stop waiting. I started running again in the mornings. Quiet roads. Cold air. Derek and I started cooking together. Simple meals. Stupid jokes. Familiar routines rebuilt into a new shape. We weren't fine, but we were moving. And then, one night in late fall, my phone rang. "Melissa, I stared at it like it was a snake. Derek saw my face. "Don't," he said immediately. But I answered, because a part of me still needed closure. "Hello?" I said. Her voice came through thin and shaky. "Tom," she whispered. "What do you want?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. Silence. Then, "Can we talk?" I looked at the dark window. The yard was still. The house was warm. Derek was in the living room, pretending not to listen. "What happened?" I asked. Melissa exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. It's not working," she said. There it was. Not working. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I was wrong." Just not working. I swallowed. "And?" I asked. Her voice cracked. "I miss home." Home. The words sounded different coming from her now. "You left home," I said. "I know," she whispered. I was stupid. I closed my eyes. "What do you want, Melissa?" I asked again, quieter. She hesitated. Then she said it. "I want to come back." The words hung there. I didn't answer right away, because I'd imagined this moment 100 times. Her coming back. Regretful, wanting to fix it. In my head, I always thought I'd feel relief. I didn't. I felt tired. "Derek doesn't want to see you," I said. Her breath hitched. "I know." He won't answer me. "He's angry," I said. "I'm his mother," she whispered. "And I'm his father," I replied, "and he watched you walk out." Melissa started crying. Real crying. Not controlled. And for a second, my old instinct flared. Fix it. Comfort her. Make it better. But then I remembered the message that burned in my head. He has no idea. And the way she called me fine. So I stayed quiet. Finally, she whispered, "Jason, he's not who I thought he was." I exhaled. "He's exactly who he was," I said. "You just remembered him differently." She cried harder. "I made a mistake," she said. "Yes," I replied. And that simple agreement seemed to shock her more than yelling would have. "Can I come by?" she asked. "Just to talk, just to see Derek." I looked toward the living room. Derek was standing now, jaw clenched. He shook his head once. I turned back to the phone. "No," I said. Melissa went quiet. Melissa went quiet. "Tom," she whispered like she was searching for the old version of me. The version that would give her another chance because history was heavy. But history is heavy when you're carrying it together. When one person drops it, the other person's back breaks. "I'm not doing this again," I said. "What do you mean?" she asked, voice small. "I already mourned you," I replied. "While you were alive." Silence. Then she whispered, "So that's it?" I took a slow breath. "No," I said. "That's what you made it." And I hung up. 2 days later, she showed up anyway. It was evening. Cold. The kind of cold that makes the world feel sharp. I opened the door and saw her standing on the porch with a small bag. She looked thinner, tired, not glowing, not 19, just 45, and stunned by consequences. "Tom," she said softly. I didn't step aside. Behind me, Derek appeared in the hallway. He stopped when he saw her. Melissa's eyes flicked to him. "Derek," she whispered, voice trembling. "Hi, honey." Derek stared at her like she was someone he used to know. Melissa took a small step forward. "I miss you," she said. "I miss us." Derek didn't move. "Do you know what it felt like," he said quietly, "watching Dad sit in that kitchen like he couldn't breathe?" Melissa's eyes filled with tears. "Derek, He cut her off. "You didn't just cheat," he said. You humiliated him. You made him question himself. You made him feel like he wasn't enough. Melissa shook her head, crying. I never meant. You meant to feel something, Derek snapped. And you didn't care what it did to us. Melissa looked at me, pleading. That look was the same look she used to give me when she wanted me to save her from herself. But this time, I didn't. Because saving her would mean abandoning myself. Please, she whispered. I made a mistake. I nodded once. You did. And my calm seemed to hit her harder than anger would have. I'll do anything, she said. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I stared at her. There's nothing I want from you, I said. Her face crumpled. That's not true, she whispered desperately. You wanted me for years. I swallowed hard. Yes, I said. I did. Then I let the words land quietly. And then you taught me how to live without you. Melissa froze. She looked at Derek again like she expected him to soften. He didn't. You can't erase this, Derek said. You can't press reset because it didn't work out. Melissa's shoulders shook. I was lonely, she whispered. Derek's eyes flashed. Dad was right here. Silence. The porch light buzzed faintly. The world held still. Melissa looked back at me. I thought I'd be happier, she whispered. I nodded slowly. I believe you, I said. I believe you thought that. Her face tightened with hope. Then I finished it. But you didn't choose happiness, I said. You chose excitement. Melissa's breath caught. And excitement, I continued, doesn't build a life. It just burns one down. She stood there shaking like she wanted to argue but couldn't find a lie big enough. Finally, she whispered, so you really won't take me back. I looked at her, and I didn't hate her. I didn't even feel rage. I felt something quieter. Final. No, I said. Melissa stared at me and I could see it. Her mind replaying the moment she walked out. Realizing she can't walk back into a house that moved on without her. She turned toward Derek one last time. Please, she whispered. Just talk to me. Derek's jaw clenched. Maybe someday, he said, and his voice cracked just enough to show the truth underneath. But not now. Not when you're only here because you lost him. Melissa flinched. Because it was true. Jason was gone. The high school fantasy burned out fast. And she came back looking for the thing she assumed would still be waiting. The thing that took years to build. Melissa nodded slowly, tears streaming. She stepped back off the porch. I'm sorry, she whispered again. But it sounded small now. Too late. Then she walked to her car alone. No one ran after her. No one called her back. The car started, headlights sweeping across the yard. And then she was gone into the dark. I stood in the doorway, breathing cold air. Derek stood behind me. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. Then Derek exhaled slowly. She really thought she could come back, he said. I nodded, staring out at the empty driveway. Yeah, I said. She did. Derek's voice went quieter. You okay? He asked. I thought about the last year. The lies. The phone. The confession. The suitcase. The silence. I thought about how I'd wanted to beg her to stay. How I'd wanted to believe love could fix anything. Then I looked back into the house. Our house. Not perfect. Not new. Not exciting. But real. I'm not okay, I said honestly. Then I met my son's eyes. But I'm free. Derek nodded slowly. Good, he said. We went inside and closed the door. The lock clicked. And for the first time in a long time, that sound didn't feel like something ending. It felt like something finally holding.